Also something that we use a lot, but I don't think a lot of people know what it means. You guys, I am like seriously blown away at the attention the last phrasal verb video that I did received from you guys, because I was like not expecting you all to enjoy phrasal verbs as much as you did, but that video did really well. And here we are once more back on track for another phrasal verb video. If you guys don't know, I post one phrasal verb video per month. Today is that day. And today's phrasal verbs are going to be about communication. So the top 5 phrasal verbs, in my opinion, that you need to know when it comes to just communication. So if you want to know these phrasal verbs, please stick around, because not only will you be able to learn them here, but you will actually be able to understand them, and I will put them in terms that will be so easy for you guys to understand that you'll be using these like a native English speaker in no time. All right. The first phrasal verb that we're going to talk about today is speak up. Again, that is speak up. All right. Speak up. If somebody tells you to speak up, it's a phrasal verb and it just means to talk louder or express your opinion. The definition of speak up is to talk louder or express your opinion. Kind of has 2 different definitions. So if somebody tells you to speak up, it could mean they want you to talk louder. They can't hear you. Please talk louder. All right. Speak up. I cannot hear you. Speak up. Or it could mean they want you to express your opinion. Something is going on at your workplace or in your neighborhood, and you don't really fully believe that that is right. You don't think that that is ethically acceptable or something along those lines. You don't want to sit back and do nothing. You need to speak up. You need to voice your opinion. So this is a phrasal verb, speak up. Again, just talk louder or to voice your opinion, to express your opinion. So an example sentence of this is, could you speak up? I can't hear you. Could you speak up? I can't hear you. Speak up, phrasal verb number 1 for today. Number 2 is bring up. My voice cracked. Number 2 is bring up. All right, bring up. And this just means to mention or introduce a topic. To mention or introduce a topic. If you bring something up, you mention it, or you are introducing some type of topic. Like you might bring up the fact that your friend owes you money, especially if you see your friend going and she's like, oh, I'm going shopping today and I'm eating out and I'm doing, and you're like, that $20, do you have the $20 that you owe me? You bring it up, right? Or you might bring up the fact that your husband snored last night and you couldn't sleep. Whenever he asks you, why do you look so tired today? You can be like, well, you snored all night and I couldn't sleep. You brought it up, right? To bring up, this phrasal verb, again, just means to mention or introduce a topic. You mention it, you say it, you bring up something like, oh, I forgot to bring up the fact that blah, blah, blah happened last week, or I forgot to bring up this, or something along those lines. You bring it up, you mention it. So an example sentence of this is, she brought up the issue during the meeting. Now, brought up just is the past tense of bring up, all right? But it's still a phrasal verb. She brought up the issue during the meeting. So bring up, again, means to mention or introduce, and you can use it as bring up, brought up, will bring up, bringing up. It's all different tenses, but all means the same thing with the same definition, to mention or introduce a topic. The next one is call off. This one is very interesting because it is so widely used, but I don't think a lot of people understand what it means. So call off means to cancel something. To cancel something. It is a phrasal verb. Call off is a phrasal verb that means to cancel something. If I call off my plans, I cancel them. If the party was called off, it was canceled. If I call off for work, I'm canceling my work for that day. I'm not going. I'm calling out or calling off work for the day. So call off means to cancel something. Sometimes you have to call off a party when you're sick. A couple years ago, my whole family got COVID and we had to call off my youngest son's birthday party because we were all sick. Like we were really sick and we had to call it off. So an example sentence of this is, they had to call off the event due to the weather. They had to call off the event due to the weather. Call off, all right, just means to cancel something. The next one, also something that we use a lot, but I don't think a lot of people know what it means. Cut off. Cut off, all right? It is a phrasal verb, cut off, that means to interrupt or stop someone from speaking. To interrupt or stop someone from speaking. Now, there are a couple ways you can use this. You can cut someone off in traffic as well, which means you just get right in front of them. You kind of interrupt their flow of traffic. You cut them off. But typically when we use this phrasal verb cut off, it's you're interrupting someone when they are speaking. You interrupt or stop them from speaking. Now, perfect example is I am a mom, and every time I try to have an adult conversation, my youngest son especially, my oldest, he's gotten a lot better about not doing this because he knows that he's cutting people off. But my youngest son, he doesn't know. And if he does know, he just doesn't care. He will cut me off a million times to ask me random questions. I'll be trying to talk to his dad, or, my husband and I just trying to have a conversation. And here's our son in the background, like, mommy open, mommy this, mommy that, like, oh, do this. And, he cuts us off all the time. Say what he wants to say, because apparently he's a 5-year-old that runs the family, not us. So cut off means to interrupt or stop someone from speaking. You cut them off. So an example sentence of this is, sorry to cut you off, but we're running out of time. Sorry to cut you off, but we're running out of time. So maybe you're on a phone call with somebody, and maybe it's a phone interview, and they're like, hey, sorry to cut you off, but I have another interview in 2 minutes. I have to go someplace. We're running out of time. Cut off. All right. We have speak up, bring up, call off, cut off. And the final one for today is to get across. Get across. I know. And this one also is used all the time, literally all the time when it comes to communication, like everyday use. I need to get my point across, get across. But I don't really think a lot of ESL learners understand what it means. It is a phrasal verb, just like the other 4 that I talked about today. They're all phrasal verbs, and it means to successfully communicate an idea. Get across means to successfully communicate an idea. Typically, we say get across. So get my message, get my point, get my idea across. All right. To get across means you want to communicate your idea. So I can say, I want to get my point across. I'm in a meeting and everybody's giving their ideas, and you're like, hey, before we finish or we wrap up here, I want to get my point across. And then you explain what your point is. Or I just want to get my message across. You're explaining your message. You're like, oh, I just want to explain or successfully communicate this to you. This is my stance on this topic, or something along those lines. So an example sentence of this is, it took a while to get the message across. It took a while to get the message across. All right. So get across is a phrasal verb, just means to successfully communicate an idea. All right. To get something across. So I hope you guys have a better understanding of the vocabulary that we learned here today. It's all phrasal verbs, and it's super duper common phrasal verbs at that. Ones that we literally use all the time. So hopefully you do have a better understanding of those phrasal verbs. If you do, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you all in the next video.